All right, perfect. We are going to get right into this. We've got 58 minutes, a little bit less than that until market closes. This account challenge is live, just so you know. Stock buying power, options buying power, same thing. All right, so we are going to be taking a trade, hopefully, for our small account. New user, perfect. All right, first ticker that I'm looking at, because I like this setup a lot. All right, so ATV is a bullish ascending triangle. Ascending triangles are a bullish pattern. They can break down. So if they break down, they're going to break down to the downside down here. I've seen it before, but it's not common. Normally, they're going to break up to the upside. That's why we're also going to be looking at PLTR after this breakdown here real quick. Okay. I do really like this setup. It's riding the 9 EMA very well on the hourly. It bounced a couple times off the 21.55 EMA earlier today. It looks very good. It looks primed. If we break it out to a bigger time frame, but real quick, we also have stochastic slow across the upside as well from the last hourly candle. If we look at it on the 4-hour, this shows the ascending triangle very well. Okay, so resistance is there. I have a price level here as well at 97.22. It's riding this trend line up very, very well. We bounced off the 4-hour 9 EMA earlier. Stochastic slow still looks good. OBV looks good as well. We have a bullish EMA cross. Okay, so I don't talk about EMA crosses a lot, but I do look for them. So the 9 EMA crossing above. Let me let these people in real quick. I don't know why that went away so fast. When the 9 EMA crosses above the 21 EMA like this, that is a bullish EMA cross, okay? Keep in mind, when you get an EMA cross to the upside on the 4-hour, oftentimes those candles will drop back down and test them out as support, okay? I've gone over that a couple times. I will continue to preach that until the end of time, because as long as you get that bounce off the technical support, which we got right here earlier in the day for ATV, the long setup is still intact. Okay, so we have a very nice bullish 4-hour candle right here on the second hour, or 4-hour candle, excuse me. If we break it out to the daily, this also looks pretty good. Okay, so obviously the triangle gets a little messed up there for the daily, but that's okay. Now notice where the daily candle bounced off of as well. Okay, it's a nice pin bar off the 9 EMA. That is very bullish. OBV is pointing up, which is good. It's beginning to curl back up to the upside. The only bad thing, or not necessarily a bad thing, what is noticeable is the lack of volume today. Okay. However, this isn't always a bad thing for ATV, because if we go back in time, let's check out this bullish engulfing candle that ATV had a few weeks ago. Okay. The volume bar, it was bigger than this volume bar than we're looking at right now. However, it did not eclipse the previous volume bars, which is what you want to see when looking at volume bars. Okay. But look what happened with this bullish engulfing. It was a beautiful breakout, and ATV ran from 94 to 97 in a day. Okay, so that's a $3 move for Abby in a day. That's a big move. We could be looking at the same thing here a little bit. We're primed. I have a resistance price level here at 97.22. What I'm looking at specifically, I'm thinking about taking this trade in our small account. All right, I'm looking at I'm looking at weekly 98 calls. Okay, they're only 55 cents on the ask, so we would not be risking a whole lot at all in our small account. This would be the only trade we take. All right, so here's another piece of my conviction to go long on this trade, okay? We have open interest, nothing that's worthwhile though. We have nice volume on this option so far today. So 456 calls have already been bought. They're buying out of the money calls as well. More than likely, this is retail right here. However, I do like this setup, the TA setup, okay? Yes, this is an at the money option, and normally I don't recommend swinging at the money options. However, why I'm looking at that is because, one, we're going to capitalize on the Greeks, okay? So if we look at the Greeks here, it has a delta of 0.35. So if API was to go up $1, we would make $35 on our option, which would be a 35% profit. Okay, so we're growing a small account. We're looking at compounding profits. That's exactly what we want to look for, okay? It has a very, very low theta of negative 0.09, which is always nice to see. And it has a decent gamma as well of 0.16. Oh, it's ripping right now. Okay. Yeah, it is moving up a little bit. I think when I pulled it up, it might have been below 97 by a couple cents. I don't remember. I'm not going to enter right now. Okay. I'm not going to enter on this power hour run. I'm going to wait until the last 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is, to enter. But this is my number one setup right now that I'm looking at besides PLTR. Okay. Also, I don't going back to what I was saying just a few seconds ago, I don't recommend swinging at the money options, but why I'm thinking about swinging at the money options is because AbbVie's currently at $97.10 per share. It's not like AbbVie is $97.83 per share. Okay, there's still a lot of room for this option to go in the money. So that's another reason why I'm looking at it as well. I'm also thinking about taking a bigger position in AbbVie. Okay, let me get rid of the Greeks here real quick. Let me break down the volume and open interest. Looking at next week options. Okay, there's decent open interest to the short side. Okay, 95 puts, 90 puts, and then 92 and a half puts. Okay, but this is what I believe is a market maker stepping in. Okay, right now I'm waiting for volume to show up. If you want to take a risk averse trade for AbbVie, if we decide to go long on AbbVie for this overnight swing, look at this option right here. June 18th, 100 straight calls. Okay, less than $3 out of the money. So over 2 week time period, that's plenty of time for that option to go in the money. But this is the open interest. Okay, AbbVie is not popular amongst options traders. Okay, just for an instance, less than 20,000 options have been bought and sold today. Okay, for reference, if you were to look at SPY right now is probably around 5 to 6 million. Okay, AbbVie is not popular amongst options traders. So when I see open interest pop up like this, now if this open interest was to be put on a name like Tesla or Apple, that's small open interest. That's irrelevant. But for a name like AbbVie, which isn't popular amongst options traders, this is a market maker stepping in. It's an out of the money option and it's a lot. Okay. Notice how big it is. It's 28,000. The next closest one is 3,300, 5,900, and then 2,600. Okay. Nothing is matched on the put side either, which is another indication that AbbVie looks ready to go. So we have a market maker stepping in and we have bullish TA set up as well for us. Okay. I'm really, really liking what I see for AbbVie. If you want to take the risk averse setup for this $100 count challenge, choose this option. Okay. Or you can go closer in the money, but you will put more risk on the table, obviously, if you want to do 98.5 or 99 straight calls. Okay. Is volume a stronger indicator than OI? It depends. So you always want to see the combo. Okay. So ideally, what I'd like to see is at least 500 calls bought today on this option. Okay. That would make me buy in right now if I saw that, but I don't. Instead, I see 197. The strongest indicator is when you see larger volume than open interest on a given day. Now that can be hard to find, especially on an out of the money option. Normally that will pop up on at the money options or the first strike that's out of the money. Normally, it's not all the time though. The best indicator though is when they're matched a little bit, but really open interest, probably the strongest indicator because open interest is smart money. Now, if you see a lot of volume popping up on an out of the money option and it seems unusual, chances are it's a market maker that is bought in during that specific day. Okay, so with that all being said, AbbVie is my number one setup going into this account challenge. Now I want to look at PLTR. Talked about PLTR in the server earlier. Another beautiful ascending triangle. This one plays out very well on the daily as well. OBV pointing up nicely. Looks like we're going to get a bigger volume bar than yesterday. If volume goes up just a tad bit more in the last 50 minutes or so, maybe a stock that wants to cross to the upside. Okay. When you get a cross to the upside above this blue line right here, that is a very, very strong bullish momentum signal. Okay. That's a very, very strong bullish momentum signal. It doesn't happen often, but when it does happen, it's a very, very strong signal. Okay, here's the ascending triangle on the 4-hour time frame. Okay, riding the 21 EMA up very, very nicely. Bounced again off of it this morning, holding well above the 9 EMA. OBV, it's pointing, it's trending up. This 4-hour candle isn't the best, so that's why you get that little dip down. We had the stochastic slow cross in pre-market, and that played out with the first 4-hour candle. Okay, so let's check it out on the hourly as well, because I might be entering a position in a different account here. Riding the 9 EMA very well. Okay, so chances are I'm going to enter PLTR calls to swing as well, but not in this account. All right, so let's break it down. June 11th, we'll start here. Volume and open interest. Okay, no open interest. There is a lot of open interest to the put side. It's matched with volume specifically right here for the 23 strike puts. That's worth noticing. So to answer your question, this is an option that you would want to look at. match, like almost digit for digit or value for value, excuse me, volume versus open interest. However, you have to look at the other side when you look at volume and open interest. Clearly, the calls are favored. Open interest is doubled on the call side. Volume doubled and tripled on the call side as well. 35,000 volume today. Slightly out of the money. There's probably a market maker in there. It's a weekly option. Market makers tend not to trade weekly options that much unless they're really trying to move a stock or they're anticipating a big move. Chances are it's not all retail. There might be a market maker in there. But keep in mind, weekly options, usually all retail when you're looking at volume. So now we look to June 18th. 46,000 open interest on 20 strike puts. Okay, it's noticeable. Notice the flat volume, 1,000. That's a market maker right there. Flat 1,000 volume so far on the options, and it's that far out of the money. So you're looking at $4.50 just about out of the money, 100% a market maker. But again, you have to look at the other side. 56,000 open interest, 24.2 thousand, 60.7 thousand open interest on 30 straight calls. Now let's follow the volume. 10,000 volume, 6,000 volume, 5,000 volume. Okay. If we scroll down, we look at statistics. I mean, this is remarkable. It's so heavily favored to the call side. 245,000 calls versus just 53,000 puts. Okay. So when you look at this, this is obviously a market maker sitting here. This could be a hedge. Okay. He could have bought these 1,000 puts right here, and he has 5,000 calls over here. Okay. That's how you can look at that. There's definitely a market maker sitting out here somewhere. A lot of this will be retail as well, but this is a market maker. There's no doubt a market maker sitting here on this option, and this is probably a market maker as well sitting right here on this option as well at the 27 strike calls. Okay. PLTR, not the best to close, but again, as long as it doesn't die here in the last 45 minutes or so and close below this 9 EMA on the hourly, I feel pretty confident swinging PLTR calls, but we're going to be going 618 expiration. Okay. I'm not going to swing weekly calls for PLTR. Let me see here real quick while I'm looking at it. Oops, wrong table. Let's check out SPY. All right, let's look at SPY here. Always important to check your indexes heading into close. This is beautiful heading into close. SPY is running. Notice it pulled down to the 55 EMA. I think I talked about that this morning in the server. If not, I said look for a bounce at 421. So look where low a day came in, right above 421. It's good it didn't drop all the way down to 421. So they came in, they brought it up, needed the 55 EMA to bounce off of. Now look what the hourly stochastic slow is showing you. It's curling up. It could cross in the next hourly candle. It might not. We'll see. It's now back above all three EMAs on the hourly, which is very good. 4 hour pulled back down to double bottom off of the 9 EMA. Uptrend is still intact. So long as it closes above the 4 hour 9 EMA, this was a classic double bottom and the uptrend is still intact. And I'm telling you, bulls look ready. I mean, the bulls, this has been a choppy market. Maybe they run this thing into the CPI report and then pull the rug out, or maybe Wall Street knows what's up with the CPI report and they know it's going to be better than they thought, or maybe it's going to match expectations and they're going to run this market off of that. Okay. As of now, price action is bullish. There's really no reason to be bearish, especially, when technical support is holding very, very well. SPY on the daily, holding well above the 9 EMA. OBV is chopping around a little bit. We have a stochastic slow cross, but you want to see that pick up a little bit more to the upside. Okay, so let me drop it back down here to the 4 hour. Just out of curiosity, SPY is the most popular ticker trade with options, I believe, as of 2019. I think it was the most popular ticker. Ooh, that's shockingly low. Okay, so this is not a lot of volume for SPY. Not even a million calls. That's interesting. Okay, now I'm going to check out QQQ real quick. Okay, so puts are favored versus calls for both SPY and triple Qs. NASDAQ, I mean, this thing's absolutely running. So if NASDAQ's running triple Qs, that means tech sector is on fire right now. Held technical support. Okay, so there's really no reason to be bearish. Pull back twice to test the 9 EMA out, and on an uptrend we go. Okay, I see there's some chatting down here. Tesla. Okay. So if Tesla's moving, I mean, that's what number? I think it's in the top 10 weighted tickers for the S&P 500. Tesla just wicked up big time in that candle. Wow, interesting. No volume bar, so maybe somebody just got filled on a limit order there. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. That's always good though, for SPY because it is weighted so high. SOS, let me break down this swing real quick, okay? Symmetrical triangle on the 4 hour. We are riding the 21, or excuse me, we have been riding the 55 and then the 21 EMA to the upside. However, we broke away today on this new 4 hour candle, open right at the 9 EMA, and we're lifting off. Okay. We're trying to break out of this trend line here. If we get to $4, that could trigger a short squeeze. Okay. So I went at the money on these calls. SOS is a slow mover, but we have our stochastic slow cross to the upside. And I mean, hey, if Wall Street bets were to step in, or if a market maker, a dominant market maker was to step in, and they could short squeeze their short opponents out on Wall Street. Okay. On the daily, it's going to be pushing the 200 SMA, or excuse me, no, not the 200 SMA, the 55 EMA. So that's going to be a strong technical resistance to break to the upside. It's sitting just above $4. It looks like $4.12. However, OBV is also pushing up, so showing strong bullish momentum to the upside as well. Okay, let me show you why I decided to cut CVS, and CVS has since rebounded a little bit since I sold. This is what was my reasoning for selling CVS. Okay, there appears to be a market maker opening short positions that's pretty dominant to the short side. So looking at 618 here, there is definitely a market maker to the upside. 4,200 open interest, 13,000 open interest on June 18th. Nothing on the weekly cons. However, it would be odd for retail to be buying this many calls on a weekly, slightly out of the money option. Okay, this is more than likely a market maker sitting right here at $84. If CVS was to go to $84, that would blow past my stop. It has open interest to match with that 2,500. Okay, 85 strike puts, 1,100 open interest, not matching volume, but that's okay. This is another indication. 1,300 volume so far today on 83 strike puts for next week. This is not retail. This is definitely a market maker stepping in. Okay, retail right now is fascinated with the meme stocks, the tech stocks, and oil and energy to a degree. Okay, this is not retail opening positions. This is definitely a market maker. So when I see something like this, it's time for me to step out and I'm going to cut my losses. Maybe the dominant market maker on the call side ends up winning out, but there's certainly a market maker opening positions to the short side, and I'm going to step out. Price action isn't good for me. I just took the L, 50% L, but dollar value, as far as like the dollars lost, it was nothing. But percent wise, it was a 50% L for me. Hey, sorry, just curious, what do you think of options on the C3 AI? Is that the ticker symbol C3.ai? Let me know if that's the ticker symbol. Okay, ticker symbol. Am I supposed to put a slash? Maybe. C3. Oh, AI is the ticker symbol. My bad. My bad. Okay. All right. Triple bottom on 3 month. Okay, so you're going back to here. You're going back to April. Is this where you're looking at for the triple bottom? It's a nice pin bar candle off of support. But if you look at it on the daily, so the problem is very large volume bar today. That's odd. It's below technical resistance now. Okay, so it actually opened at the 21 EMA and could not get over at all, and it just dropped back down. So that's what that's telling me. On the 4 hour, let me get rid of that. On the 4 hour, below all technical resistance, where did this volume bar come in now? That's what I want to see. So right at open. Okay, so that makes sense. If you trade it June 18th, puts are outweighing calls. I would not look at next week. I would probably go to October, which makes it hella expensive. What's July looking like? Still fairly expensive. If you want to trade it, you could go July 16th, 80 straight calls just off the top of my head. But keep in mind it's below technical resistance now on the daily and 4 hour. Broke down PLTR, SOS, at the Uber. If this is your first time doing live trading with me, I'm not going to be able to run through every ticker on my watch list because not every ticker is going to show a viable setup. Okay, so as AJ just pointed out or just asked, you can always ask tickers for me to break down in the Zoom chat box, and I will be more than happy to do it for you when I go live. Okay, feel free to drop them in there, and I will get to them when I can. All right, Uber. This is another long setup I'm looking at, not for the $100 count challenge. Absolutely, we'll look at Apple. However, Uber last week fell down and it had a very nice recovery. Okay. These 4 hour candles are interesting. So buyers are clearly strong here on the 4 hour, but I like this second 4 hour candle a whole lot more than the first. Okay. So it dropped down, tested EMAs, and bounced right back up. Okay. So with that being said, let's look at it on hourly because I'm looking at this to swing calls. Hourly looks very, very nice. It dropped down intraday and it bounced right back up, and it's now back above the 9 EMA as well. So as far as price action goes, I really like the setup. If we look at it on the daily, this is where Uber gets a little weak. OBV, it's sideways for the most part. Now it's pointing to the upside, but depending on tomorrow or Wednesday's price action, it could very well end up right back down here. Okay, recent bounce off the 200 SMA. That's what this pink line is for me. That's a 200 SMA. That's a good technical bounce. But we caught this move late. We are in day 2 of this bounce off. Usually those bounces last anywhere from 1 to 3 days. So tomorrow would be day 3. So we'd be pushing it a little bit, playing this bounce off of it. Unfortunately, we missed it. However, nice bullish daily candle. Buyers are there, keeping price up. Sellers also showing themselves a little bit. Excuse me. If you look at, make sure no one's missing or waiting, excuse me. Sellers also there a little bit if you look at this long top wick, and the 55 EMA is sitting right here at $52. Okay, that's a strong technical resistance as of now. Recently, looks like price level wise, 51.75 is also a hard level. So if you notice multiple rejections at 51.75, and then boom, you get the drop down. So that is something to keep in mind. We are about $1 away from that, give or take. But nonetheless, it is on my radar for a swing. Retail call volume right here. Open interest, I like 7,500 on weekly 52 calls. Matching volume and open interest to the short side, but I would definitely say it's favored to the call side for weekly expirations. Let me break it out to June 18th real quick since it's up. Looks like 2 calls for every put, just a quick rough estimate off the top of my head, probably a little bit more than that to the call side. So that's always good to see. But now we need to look at June 18th expiration as well. Okay. Sorry, I just got a text real quick, had to check that. Okay. This is probably a market maker right here sitting at Uber 50 strike puts. It's a cheaper option, 1,900 volume, 26,000 open interest. Okay, that's what makes me think it's a market maker. But looking at the call side, gets a whole lot more interesting. 55,000 open interest, 14,000, we'll say 13,000, just round up a little bit. However, unfortunately for Uber, there's no volume on this side pretty much. Okay, they're all in the hundreds. If I'm looking at volume, I want to see volume right like this in the thousands. Okay, this is retail volume though. At these at the money options, this is more than likely majority of it is retail. We don't want to trade with retail. We want to follow smart money. That's probably retail as well because it's an at the money option. This could be a market maker right here at 705, 775 could be a market maker as well. This is definitely a market maker sitting right here. And then also peep this open interest to the downside. So I'm looking at this not for a $100 count challenge. It's either going to be in my Webull account or we'll take a lotto trade, which is done in my Robinhood account, and we might enter these 55 calls for next week. Okay, so the setup is there to go long, but there's strong resistance up top for Uber. So that's what's holding me up from green lighting it right away, like we were at the NPLTR. Okay, hourly uptrend though, I can't get this away. Okay, there we go. Hourly uptrend, keep this in mind. Okay, we're holding an uptrend on the hourly pretty well. Okay, if that was to break down to the downside, obviously it could be a bloodbath a little bit there for Uber. All right, Apple, absolutely, I'll break down Apple as well. Whoa, aha! Look at that! Look at that, Apple. Oh, this is funny. We are in Apple swings. Okay, looking on stock twits, and think I saw some talk of it in the main chat. I don't remember any names, but I'm not even sure I remember seeing it. It could have been somewhere else I was watching it. Market makers know your stop losses when you're trading. Okay, they know your stop losses. They know everyone goes with like a 25% stop loss. Okay, they're not stupid. They're people too. And don't think for 1 second they're not paying attention to these forums like Reddit um, and stock twits. Okay, they're reading that stuff. They know what retail is. And for God's sake, Robinhood sells your data to Wall Street alone. Okay, so they know what they're going to do. Or excuse me, they know what retail is going to do. This right here is Wall Street toying with you. Okay, they're holding Apple down. Now, I did not realize this today, but when I entered my swing position too, Apple was having an event today. Historically, when you trade Apple, many retail traders think it's okay to go long and load up on calls for Apple when they have an event day. Okay, I think it's every fall Apple unveils their new products, right? New iPhones is usually the biggest thing, but then there's always talk of like Apple TV, and then of course the Apple Car. A couple years ago, that was a hot topic that was never brought up. Okay, retail love those days. Okay, they FOMO in. They think Apple's going to go to the moon. Wall Street knows that. Historically, Apple is red and underperforms on their event days. I did not know today was an event day for Apple. Otherwise, I definitely would have held off when entering my swing position until power hour. But I didn't. We had to ride it out. I think it dropped to like the 12% in the red at one point, which is nothing as far as the swing goes. Okay. But keep that in mind. Wall Street knows these events. When you get an event for a ticker that is broadcast for everyone, like these Apple event days when they unveil new products, Wall Street knows that. Retail, 90% of retail traders are stupid enough to FOMO themselves in and to go long. Wall Street's going to pull the rug out on you. Okay. A very good recent example is Dogecoin and Elon Musk for Saturday Night Live. That was a classic example of buy the rumor and sell the news. Okay, Dogecoin went down the toilet as soon as Saturday Night Live turned on and Elon Musk started talking. Okay, Wall Street knows this, the market makers know this, and they will screw retail every chance they get. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. If you ever trade on event days for any name out there. Okay, Microsoft, BLTR, all different companies out there have those kind of event days. Okay, Apple hourly, we're just looking at it's clearing all the EMAs. Very good TA setup to the upside. Very strong 4-hour candle coming in clutch right here during power hour. Okay, literally an hour ago, this candle was the exact opposite, and it was all the way down here. It's now doing a 180. OBV is beginning to tick up. Stochastic slow, it's overextended, but if you get that tick up and you get that curl up, that's okay. It's not showing bearish momentum above all three key EMAs is what I'm looking at here. And then we look at the daily. This is where it gets really good for Apple. Very nice bullish candlestick pushing the 21 EMA resistance. Buyers are stepping in. Recently bounced. I mean, it's bouncing. It's flirting with danger here with the 200 SMA. I've been talking about that for a couple weeks now. It looks like they're ready to break Apple out to the upside. 127.30 pretty much. 127.35 is my first price target. Okay. 55 EMA, that can be a tough resistance level to break. Okay, it can act as a strong support. It can be a tough resistance to break, but stochastic slow is beginning to curl up. And if this OBV begins to curl up as well here later this week, and if tomorrow, if we close at least above the 21 EMA, I'm thinking we could be in the money by the end of the week on these Apple calls. Okay, we are in 120 straight calls, I believe. Now, I love looking at open interest and volume. Apple is one of the unique stocks where you really have to use your knowledge of the two to really find where a market maker is sitting. Because ever since they did their stock split, retail traders have gone apeshit on Apple options. Okay, 650,000 calls versus 240,000 puts. Okay, that's pushing the level of SPY pretty much. That's a lot of retail, but Apple is the most popular ticker traded in the tech sector. It's number one weighted in the indexes. So obviously market makers are going to be in there as well. This is a market maker right here. I can tell you right off the bat, not only because of the open interest, but because it's 2 weeks out and the amount of volume. There's definitely retail volume in there, but there's definitely a market maker or two or three sitting in here at these 130 calls worth only 63 cents on the ask. Okay. A lot of volume on the put side, decent open interest that pops up. But again, you have to look at the other side. What side is more? And is there a dominant side? The dominant side is clearly the call side, looking at June 18th. All right. Let's see here. This is retail to the call side here. 77,000 volume so far on at the money Apple calls, all retail. Let's see. This, yeah, 129 Wall Street, a market maker isn't going to be buying 129 calls, especially on a weekly. This is all retail right here, pretty much. Again, all retail, 25,000. Open interest, really nothing that catches my eye a little bit. What you want to see is something dominant. Okay, dominant open interest for Apple is going to be like 100,000 or more. We get it here in 130 strike calls for next week. Okay, by all means, this is a great trade to take. I feel very, very good giving this trade out. Personally, I'm not going to take it. I'm going to put my money into other trades. But personally, I love this setup, and the TA setup is there too. Okay, we're not just blindly following volume and open interest. The TA setup is there, and it looks beautiful. Okay, Apple daily candle so far, very bullish daily candle. Just to check real quick, I want to see how much our option is up real quick. Oh, okay, so it's at break even. That's fine. That's no big deal at all. Let's check out PLTR because I do want to keep circling back to the names that I want to get into. PLTR fading a little bit here. I would like to see it close above 24.53. Unfortunately, that may not happen. We're down to the last 25 minutes, just about, if Thinkorswim wants to load. That's kind of odd. There we go. Okay, so yeah, this 4-hour candle is getting worse and worse. We're not even getting a wick anymore. I'm looking to enter these calls right here, these 25 straight calls. I'm probably going to go in light for PLTR. You did say XOM. XOM about a 30% stop loss. Okay, so it's now looking to close below the 4-hour 9 EMA, which would be, it's not bullish by any means, but I mean, it's not full-fledged bearish either. Watch the 21 EMA as support. Really, the daily, though, is going to provide the strongest. So watch for a pullback down here to the 9 EMA. Okay, so that's sitting at 60.41. So if you want to really ride out ExxonMobil, hard stop will be 60.41. Okay, checking out the option chain, nothing's changed. Retail call volume a little bit. This might be a market maker or two, but it wouldn't be a dominant position. This could be a market maker, 1,400 volume on weekly 59 puts. That's kind of odd, especially for retail to buy, only worth 10 cents. Could be a lotto for sure. This is a market maker right here, 60 strike puts for 618 expiration, 3,800 volume, matching with 15,000 open interest. Notice none of the volume or the call volume on next week options get over 2,000. Okay, you have a dominant one, almost 4,000 on the day. Something to watch. Definitely market makers sitting here, but they may not be buying in yet because of the open interest. They could be waiting to buy cheaper. 2-to-1 call ratio pretty much on the dot. So the call side's favored, but the TA, it's not strong at all for bullish momentum. So with that being said, let's check out Abby because I looked at PLTR again. Abby pretty much where we left it, which is good to see. PLTR, this, I mean, it's a stupid close. I might hold off and wait till tomorrow for PLTR. And instead, I might just buy more AppV, but a different option for next week as well. So AppV is number one, pretty much guaranteeing you we're going to enter that option. So let's look at other tickers here. If you guys want to keep dropping names, I'll be more than happy to look at them. Let's see. Looked at Uber. We're not going to look at Lyft. Lyft has high IB for some reason, never goes away. Um, let's look at Pinterest. Pinterest has been a good name to us over the past couple weeks. Ooh, up 3.5% today. Big daily candle, bigger volume bar, which is always good to see. Pushing the 55 EMA again. That's bullish. 4-hour is strong, clearing all three EMAs to the upside on the 4-hour. It looks like it's going to push $66 again, but that's less than $1 away. So probably not the safest swing, but let's see what the option chain is showing us. Nothing dominant really on weekly. Interesting. 14,000 open interest flat. Definitely a market maker there. Definitely a market maker buying those calls. 1,800 worth for next week's 70 calls. Pretty cheap, only 51 cents. I mean, okay, so weekly calls, I definitely wouldn't trade for pins unless you really want to risk it and you have the money to lose. Next week calls, not terrible if you want to do 66 strike or 67 strike if you're anticipating that resistance to be broken. 55 EMA is, or that's just, excuse me, that's 200 SMA on the 4-hour, not the strongest on the 4-hour. Really only pay attention to it on the daily. Where's this sitting at? 66.89. Okay. It's not a terrible setup by any means. The TA is there. It looks good. It's a big breakout day. So tomorrow could be a little bit of a consolidation, or it could be part two of its big breakout. But if you were to enter next week 66 or 70 or 67 calls, excuse me, it's not a terrible idea. So if a market maker is opening positions all the way down here, you can guarantee that these options down here will be in the green as well. Okay, I mean that's a literal guarantee that I can make. Visa. Here's a very good example. I'm going to hit on this one more time. Take what's given to you in this market. Okay, complete ugly stupid fade today. Wall Street, they gave us that catalyst in pre-market. Okay, they gapped it up, and what they do, they probably FOMO'd the shit out of retail, and they filled that gap that it made, and it bounced a little bit off of 230, and it looks like it's not going to have the strongest close either. Okay, so something that I want to hit home on. Okay, 4-hour, it's not the best. Let me switch to hourly. Okay, hourly shows it the best. Wall Street knows every catalyst pretty much. Not everybody in Wall Street, but there's usually going to be a market maker out there that's going to know a catalyst for some kind of company before it comes out. Okay, Visa got a partnership or whatever it was with Goldman Sachs earlier this morning. That came out in pre-market, and that's what drove the price up so well. Okay, notice what they did. They put it into a breakout pattern, the symmetrical triangle. Okay, that's what Wall Street will do. They will know the breakout, or they will know the catalyst before it's announced, and then they're going to put the stock more often than not every single time by any means, but usually they'll put it into a breakout pattern. Okay, in this case for Visa, it was a symmetrical triangle. Symmetrical triangles break out either way. They can break out to the upside, they can break out to the downside. It was a slow crawl for the first half of the trading day, okay? Because we entered off of the confluence between the TA and the trading tick spot that I posted on Twitter link on Friday, okay? The first 2-3 hours of the trade, okay, because we entered early, it was probably before 10:30. It was a little bit of a teeth pull, okay? Visa would pop up and then it would drop back down. But I think we closed anywhere like around 12.5%, I think, on Friday. Good close by all means. However, this morning, lo and behold, look what happens. We get a catalyst and the market makers gap Visa up in pre-market. And then what do? They trap retail in the first hour, and then they bring it down the rest of the day and they fill the gap. Okay. In all honesty, if you wanted to go long off of Visa again, definitely want to do 235 calls. But I mean, 235 calls again, it'd be pushing it. You would want to do 232.5 straight calls. And again, it would be pushing it. Okay, they've already filled the gap to the downside. That's bullish. But again, the price action, this last hourly candle, it's not that strong. Okay, it's something to watch. It's a possible trade for you to take, but personally, it's not even close to being strong enough for me to enter. Okay, let's look at another name here. CVX, that's another energy name that we've traded before. Pretty much same thing as ExxonMobil. Keep an eye on this big gap to the downside. This is dollar gap to the downside for CVX. That will be a sweet gap fill. an options trade, that's an easy 30% plus for CVX when that gap fill comes, if you can catch that move. So keep an eye on that trade as well. Let's keep scrolling. KO and Pepsi, keep an eye on time here. Definitely not missing the trade. Coca-Cola dropping down today on the hourly, down to the 55 EMA. Good, strong technical bounce there. 4 hour. Okay, could be stronger, but it's holding support. Tiny gap to fill to the downside on the daily. That's okay. Nothing that I see that really convinces me there at all. I think somebody just said something in the chat. Oh, okay. GDX and HD. Absolutely. GDX, is that a gold miner? Yep. Okay, so this is a gold miner. So it's a gold miner ETF, so it's not going to move off of gold per se, but of course it does to a degree. Daily shows, I mean, it's just strong consolidation. So CPI report comes out, inflation, metals move off of inflation news. Okay, that's GLD and SLV for silver. GLD is the ETF for gold. I have traded GLD in the past. It got really hard to trade GLD after Warren Buffett announced his stake in a gold miner. So after that, it kind of went to shit. It's a very heavily influenced ETF. There's a lot of market makers from around the globe that are entrenched in gold, between gold futures, which is /GC, versus market makers over here that trade and are entrenched in GLD. So it can be messy to trade. However, looking at TA, I mean, maybe there's a symmetrical triangle there that you can see. It's below the EMAs on the 4 hour, which is never good. On the hourly, okay, much better setup of the symmetrical triangle. You could push it, not push it. I mean, the setup is there, but the resistance is there as well. So maybe 39 calls weekly. Okay, so it'd be at the money. Yeah, it would be at the money. Volume and open interest is there, but that's retail for sure. Ooh, okay, market maker sitting right here. 113,000 open interest. That's huge for GEDX. I can tell by looking at this name, it's not a big name for open interest at all. 33,000 call volume. That is a market maker. Nothing is matched to the short side, especially in volume. Yeah, there's open interest, but when you see open interest like this, you better see volume. Okay, 50,000 open interest, and then you're going to match it with 66 volume. I mean, that's shit. That's nothing. So matched with 33,000 volume, that's something. That's a market maker sitting there. So you asked about GDX. Now that I see the option chain, this long setup becomes a lot more viable. These 40 calls, they're cheap. They look very good. There's definitely a market maker sitting there. That is not retail. If you trade GDX, that would be the option that I would say to choose. HD looks like it's catching a bottom here on the hourly. Has a lot of technical resistance to fight through. They get back up there, but oh, that's 30-minute. Let's see what the 4 hour shows. Same thing. I mean, it created a bear flag right here. I think somebody was talking about it earlier. I forget the name. In the server, they traded HD puts. Beautiful bear flag from Friday into this morning. Executed very well. Let me zoom in so everybody can see it. Executed very well, and it dropped. 308 is now the hard resistance. So it's below technical resistance. You have a double bottom off the 4 hour. Okay, this is a textbook double bottom. However, you don't know if it's going to do another bear flag like this and just break that 308 support. Let's see what the daily shows. Daily, okay, so it's pushing the 55 EMA on the daily. It's getting rejected. That's bearish. Stochastic slow. It pointed down a few days ago. So OBV is down. Larger volume candle, but notice this volume candle now, okay? We have a large volume bar. It's a bearish candle. It's got a decent upper wick, but the bottom wick is longer. So buyers are showing their presence. And we also just looked at that off of the 4 hour time frame as well with the double bottom. So I'd say it's 50-50. It's been flying the last hour. Okay. What does the option chain show us then? Retail, maybe that's not retail right here, but that's even for $10 out of the money. Okay. That's probably a market maker. but it's not a dominant position by any means. Let's see what next week shows. This is a market maker sitting at 320. So that's a safer option to take than a weekly 320 call. Still not that expensive at all. 88 cents on the ask. That's pretty good. 1100 volume. That's how I know it's a market maker right there. Out of the money that much and that kind of volume. 3400, 4700. Nothing's really matched to the put side. I mean, this is noticeable. 2700. But I'll put it to you like this as well. If SPY looks ready to take off, what is the Dow Jones looking at? Because HD is weighted there. Dow Jones is actually red. Okay. What does Dow Jones look like on the hourly? Okay. SPY faded. Is SPY fading a move? That's nasty. That's pretty nasty. Let's check it out on the 5-minute. So they can't get it over 422.26. Okay. So if you're going to trade HD, you need to watch the Dow Jones because HD is weighted in there. I'm pretty sure. I'm like 99% sure. What's Apple showing? A little bit of a fade, not terrible. That's fine. That's nothing bad. Microsoft holding strong all day. So this is not a small account friendly ticker. Medium-sized accounts to large accounts, definitely trade Microsoft. It's a good one. Market maker sitting right here, 265 calls, 4,200 volume, 21,000 open interest. Okay, so this is noticeable. It's slightly out of the money, but it's a lot of volume. And it's matched with good open interest. Let's see. Price action's bullish, though. We know that. Weekly, that's a whole lot of retail. 26,000 calls, that's a lot of retail. I mean, yeah, this is retail too. Did I not click admit? There we go. Admit. Just make sure, yes. Okay, so again, retail is matched pretty much on weeklies. There's dominant market makers playing both sides here. We'll see who wins. 75,000 calls, more than puts though, so that's always good to see. Breakout on the 4-hour, big time. What's the daily showing? Breakout in the daily as well. It looks like it could go for a run. Peep this. Keep this in mind as well from Microsoft. This is bullish. We go up here. Drop it down. All right. So we'll bring it out all the way out to here. Okay, so it can actually go down a little bit more than that, judging by that bottom wick. But Microsoft has a gap fill to the upside. Gaps will be filled, especially a gap to the upside for a name like Microsoft. Microsoft is peeling away. Stochastic slow cross is coming. OBV is pointing up. You have an EMA cross as well to the upside. What is your trigger? We'll go back over here. Your trigger to go long is 256.71. Okay, so you have about $4 more to go until that trigger hits, but that move could honestly be done by the end of this week. So looking at 618 calls, where does that gap end? It'll end at 260. Okay, so that explains this 4,000 volume. That's a market maker sitting right here. That also explains this because they're going to get that IV juice. So this could be a market maker looking at that gap fill plus and beyond. 4,300 volume, but either way, so long as Microsoft keeps going up, they're going to make money on their option, especially since they have next week calls. So keep that in mind. Microsoft, if you want exposure to a bigger name, this isn't terrible. Small accounts don't do this, but if you got a medium-sized account, let me switch back to volume and open interest. Let's look at 257.5 straight calls, and we'll look at 260. The Greeks. Theta. Okay, so the only option that's really worth swinging here, if you've got a medium-sized account, the bullish setup is there by all means. Just keep in mind that there is a market maker sitting right here as well on this option. Your theta is less than half of your delta, so that's good. It's a plus. Delta could be better by all means, but Microsoft options get a little funky because they go by $2.50 on the strike prices. It's a cheap option too, for the most part, 137. However, it's also got a Vega. So it's got a Vega of 16. So what is its IV? Very low. Okay. Small accounts, don't recommend this. But if you've got a medium-sized account and you want exposure to a bigger name that you haven't traded before, this option specifically for Microsoft, 257.5 straight calls for June 18th. Not a bad trade at all. Beautiful TA setup. But I mean, I can't stress it enough. TA is very, very good. Make sure I'm not missing any messages. Okay, let's check out PLTR now. Still fading a little bit. That's unfortunate. Buyers coming in just a little bit, not enough for my liking. Oh, we got a fade. Okay, got a little bit of a fade. That's why we don't enter, right? Abby has dropped about 20 or 10 cents, so that'll show up on the option a little bit. No volume bar increase. That's okay. This hourly candle, it sucks. There's no way to cut it. That sucks as an hourly candle to go long. So has this brought down? It has not brought down these calls. If this option was at 100 on the ask, I would definitely jump in. Unfortunately, it hasn't. We're $5 away. Well, probably $10 to be honest. Let's see, 97. No, we're not going to swing that. 98 calls. They're not terrible. More volume has popped up by a couple cons. Maybe that was some of you. I don't know. That'd be funny. I still feel comfortable taking this by all means. 4 hour, it's just the hourly that doesn't look good. 4 hour, strong support. We got the EMA cross as well. Daily candle. Let me double check. Yeah, that's still a very bullish daily candle by all means. That's still intact by a mile as well. OBV looks solid. So let this fade away. Let this go away real quick. And we're going to go ahead and enter Abby calls. Let me just make sure I'm not going to enter on a bad 5-minute bar. Okay. Yep. Let's go ahead and enter Abby calls 98 strike. This will be the first trade in our small account. Let's watch our fill. Let me load this. We got one. That's what I want. I'm only doing one. This is my only position overnight. We're going to limit our risk. $3 spread. Let's see if I get filled at 53. Why not? Nope, it's not going to. All right, so I'm not going to get filled at 53. That's fine. We'll enter at 55. All right, and then of course they drop the bid right back down. So entered 55 strike, or yeah, that was our fill. Excuse me, not 55 strike. Our fill was 55 on the ask. This is going to be my only swing position overnight. Okay, this run up right here juices the options. I've gone over this before, but for all the new members, this is something for you to know. This is why if I'm not in a swing over here, I'm not entering a swing over in here until the last 10 minutes. This run up that you see right here juices options. It gets the IV up. They're going to do this. The market maker is going to drop it back down. That's going to crush your option. And yes, when your option was green over here, it's going to turn it into red or break even. So you wait for this to happen, wait for the pullback to happen. And then in the last 5 to 10 minutes, then you go long because now the option, the IV has dropped and the option is going to be cheaper for you to buy. Okay. And you know what? If that doesn't happen, oh, well, move on to the next trade. Okay. Let me go ahead and signal this in the group. We're not done though, as far as our trades go. There are other viable setups out there. Let's see. Summer account challenge. First. All right, that is signaled. I think I just saw a new message pop up. Easy. Nice. Did you go up? Was it a call? Was it Microsoft calls by chance? That'd be funny. Ah, that's beautiful. Good job. Happy for you. Apple, very strong close for Apple. Love that 5-minute candle we just saw. 3.5 minutes left. Microsoft, look at that. Very strong close as well. SPY, I know SPY's moving with them. Very strong as well. DKNG real quick. Ooh, you made a big move. Up 6% today. You'd be chasing. I mean, it's cleared all resistance on the 4 hour. Maybe tomorrow if we get a little drop down. The long setup for DKNG is so enticing, but I know these options are juiced a little bit. Market maker right there at 55. Oh, that's beautiful though. That's a beautiful option. But would it be chasing, GK and G? It would be chasing. That's a dominant market maker right there. Oh, that's a tough one. Do I want to enter? Because I mean, it's a beautiful setup. Apple calls are now up 10% for me. No, I'm not going to chase. If this drops back down tomorrow, and if it gets a strong first hourly candle tomorrow, I'm probably going to go long with DraftKings. But until then, I'm not going to chase. I like it though. I do like it. PLTR. This is going to be my next one. Let's see this hourly candle. Nice bounce for this hourly candle. Let's check out Uber. That was one more that I wanted to look at. Okay, so it's there. What's better? We're only going to do A+ setups. Uber versus PLTR. PLTR. PLTR by a mile. TA is there. Ascending triangle. EMAs are curling up and crossing on multiple time frames. OBV looks good as well. Yes, let's do PLTR calls. I'm gonna do next week. All right. Let's see. We're gonna follow big money here. Let's get on 25 calls. All right. Let's do. We got a minute, 30 seconds left. Let's do another trade. Excuse me. So this will be 3 swings for, or no, 4. Excuse me. I forgot about SOS. We're gonna do June 18th, 25 strike calls. My fill is going to be 69. There's no spread between them, so that's always good. Yep, got filled as well. All right, let me go ahead and alert that as well. All right, about 50 seconds left. There's still time. PLTR 25. All right. All right, so those are our trades for the day. 24 seconds left. Market will be closing here soon. Yes, absolutely. If you guys have any questions for me, now is the time. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Very, very good amount of people that showed up. I'd love to see 17 people joining the Zoom meeting. I think we were up to 20 at one point, so I'd love to see that as well. Let's see how SOS is closing. 393, not bad. If I remember correctly, my fill was 38, so up $1. That's wonderful. Maybe we get a short squeeze here. That's a big run into close for SOS. That's nice. Look at that volume bar too. Second largest of the day for SOS on the 5-minute. That's good to see. Apple, nice strong run into close. Largest volume bar of the day or right now, actually, excuse me. So that's a good sign for the most part. Microsoft, huge volume bar after close. Huge. Probably a limit order getting filled right there at 254. Interesting. What was my next one? PLTR. Strong close for PLTR. Really can't be mad. Very nice volume bar. Second largest of the day in the last 5-minute candle. Always a good sign as well. Strong close. So I feel confident as well. How did AbbVie close? I knew there was one more. Whoa, AbbVie. Ooh, there's a market maker coming in. Very large volume bar, but you don't know if it's selling or buying into. But either way, we should have made money on our option. Okay, so we made $3 on our option. It's now 58, bids at 55. So $3 profit. It's not terrible for growing a $100 account. Money's money. That's nice though. If we can take a leg up, by all means. AbbVie, depending on how /ES opens, SPY opens tomorrow, there's no reason why AbbVie really can't open in the money. Okay, AbbVie can make big moves. Usually AbbVie makes its biggest moves in the first 2 hours, as you can see here on these trading days, but AbbVie can make a big move. Also, I meant to look at EA. Those two love to trade together. Beautiful on EA as well. Nice comeback here on the hourly. Bounced off of a price level, 21 EMA, rode the 9 EMA right back up into close as well. Let's see if there's a market maker in EA. Retail, nothing on the put side, though, so that's good. Here's our market maker sitting at 150, almost 3K open interest. No dominant market maker. Okay, so volume doesn't even get to 100. That's not a dominant market maker. It's might be a market maker. It might be retail buying into. It's hard to say, but if volume doesn't even get to 100, it's not worth it. Okay, keep in mind EA is just like AbbVie. It's not popular amongst option names. Okay, this doesn't even get to 12,000 options traded on the day. So there's dominant market maker sitting for you right there for EA as well, which bodes well for AbbVie because those two love to trade together. One part is retail trade weekly options. Okay, retail, they're not smart enough to go bump out their expirations. Okay, they buy at the money and they buy weekly options. They will literally buy and swing weekly options from a Wednesday into a Thursday, which is beyond stupid because of time decay and theta only option. Okay, so that's one way I know. Another thing is experience. I've been looking at this for a couple years now. I'm not trying to be cocky at all or anything, but it's just experience. You get to pick up on these things the longer that you trade and the longer that you look at the option chain. This is a huge thing to understand. You can day trade options without looking at volume and open interest. But if you ever want to be successful swinging options, you need to understand and learn how to read volume and open interest. And I will help you till the end of time do that, so long as you're in this team. Okay. It's really not that hard. It's just a matter of picking up on it, remembering to look at it every day, and then you're able to decipher what's a lot for one option and then what's not a lot for another option. Okay. So let's look at EA is a great example. 372 volume. That's a market maker. It's not a popular name. So to figure out what's a dominant market maker stepping in, look at the total option statistics for the day, and then see how that compares into the total statistics for the day. So 372 volume matched with 2,900 open interest, that's noticeable, and that's a lot. Whereas if you look at Apple, let's see here. We'll do a weekly option here for Apple instead. Okay. Well, actually, Apple is just so FOMO'd. It's kind of crazy. Let me try a different name like Neo. Okay. 4,000 volume. Okay. I mean, that's not a dominant option to follow. It's bigger than the open interest again, but keep in mind, this is all retail. So that right there could be a market maker, 45 straight calls. That's a ton of calls for Neo, 20,000, more than 20,000. But this is a dominant market maker. When you bump out the expiration and then you're matched with open interest, that's a dominant market maker as well. And then you compare that, you take that volume and then you compare it to today's statistics. 345,000 calls. Okay, 15,000 of them are sitting at this option. That's an option that I want to buy into. Okay. 4 years, a little over 4 years in the spring. March, beginning of March, end of February. I forget the exact date. I'll have to go on Robinhood and find it. But either end of February or beginning of March marked 4 years of trading for me. 2.5 years trading options, by the way. I started out in equity, trading shares for the first time, and I've been building this watch list ever since I started trading. Absolutely. I'm happy to have you. Yes, and in case you don't know, my name is Wyatt. You can call me by my first name in the server. I don't care about that at all. But just for privacy reasons, just because I'm on StockTwits as well, and there are some crazy people in StockTwits, I do go by the Discord name and StockTwits name of Father Time. Yes, absolutely. I'm very, very excited. Absolutely. I'm happy to hear that. All right. With that being said, if there's no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this Zoom meeting. It was recorded, so I'm going to try and get this uploaded tonight as well for everybody who couldn't make it. Absolutely. All right. I hope everybody has a great rest of your Monday night, and I will be back on the Discord server tonight. Might shoot for live trading again tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see, and maybe another voice session with Stockwolf tonight, or probably sometime this week for sure, but maybe tonight. I don't know yet. I haven't talked to him yet today. All right. Take care, everybody.